The bill basically calls for the White House to develop and implement a strategy for addressing severe poverty. So it's looking at specifically those living less than $1 a day. It ties into the Millennium Development Goals, which I think we'll probably get into a little later. It's basically the bill that kind of says, you know, we've had the political commitment to send a man to the moon. It's time we get the political commitment to actually address global poverty. It's the great excuse always given for why political leaders aren't addressing poverty. And the reality is these aid agencies have been working in the field for years. They've developed strategies for addressing it. More specifically, the U.S. government actually has what's called the Millennium Challenge Account, which requires countries to address corruption before they receive funding from the United States. So there's definitely systems in place. Corruption is an issue that's, you know, it's present here in the United States. It's present in poor countries, but by no means is it a good justification for actually ignoring poverty. The reality is, though, over the last 20 years, malnutrition has been cut in half. We've seen all these pockets of success from China, which, you know, had tremendous levels of success. 80 million people, I believe, are lifted out of severe poverty. The World Bank just came out with a report. It used to be 1.2 billion people lived in severe poverty, less than $1 a day. It's now dropped down to 1 billion. So the success is there. It's occurring. It's just definitely not at the pace we'd like to see it happen. We think that can change, though, with the political commitment. It's a huge issue there, and so much is tied into that issue, too. It gets into if teachers are dying of AIDS, students don't have teachers. If farmers are dying of AIDS, they don't have crops coming up. So it's definitely one of those root issues that's become a big part of addressing poverty in Africa. Is they're not necessarily competing interests. We have a foreign policy, we have a domestic policy. Both should be focused on poverty. The global poverty, it's the root of everything. You look at the economic reasons for addressing global poverty, you look at the national security reasons for addressing global poverty. The White House has been really strong on this. Their own national security strategy says, you know, we can't have half the world's population living in poverty and not expect it to essentially bite us in the butt. You can't have that many people that are barely surviving and not expect it's going to come back. Kind of the instability that comes from people living in poverty. The warlords come to power, the bad guys take over, and it's a huge threat to the United States.
So poverty and hunger all tied in together.
Yeah.
So instead of dropping bombs, why don't we drop food?
I think we should. The other aspect is we a lot of times have a need for people in different districts to call their congressional leaders and really convey support for different bills. So you look at a site like MySpace where you can actually sort people by zip codes and find out where different regions. We reach out to our supporters in those regions and ask them to call congressional leaders on different bills we're pushing. Big thing, we need people calling their congressional leaders. I've been extremely shocked by how receptive public leaders are to public opinion. I mean, their careers literally depend on keeping voters happy. A good way they do that is by gauging public opinion, listening to the issues people are contacting their office on. I actually recently saw what the actual call log senators get. They get a memo each week saying 5 people called saying address global poverty, 5 people called saying don't address global poverty, theoretically. Hopefully those calls aren't happening. But it's just that senators, so any person making that 15-second phone call, they're instantly getting the issue in front of the senator. So it's a hugely effective tool. We're doing a lot now. Part of our challenge is demonstrating public support behind the organization, the issues in their district. So that's where the phone calls are really important. Having people in their district calling them and saying, please co-sponsor this bill. That's a big part of it. And the emailing, all that stuff that, you know, all these groups want people to do, and most people are kind of cynical about whether or not it actually works. Turns out it really does. So a big part of our strategy is just getting people to be engaged and contact their congressional leader. So
this doesn't sound like a Jack Abramoff type of lobbyist.
Yeah, there's no back alley.
This sounds more like a grassroots activist.
Yeah, it very much is. So we're aligned to the United Nations Online Volunteer Program, and when we have different openings, we might need someone to do research for us or to translate for us. We'll post it to the UN's website, and we'll get applicants from literally all over the globe. We might have someone in Germany doing translating for us, or someone in China doing research for us. So it's just kind of this really interesting way. Really quickly, the organization got very global just by doing, you know, having people in different parts of the world involved in different capacities.
What's in it for you?
I'd like to see, you know, this issue addressed. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's a huge issue. It's affecting a lot of people. It really bothers me and disturbs me that this is still going on in the year 2007.